All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to our fourth edition of DeFi Deep Dives on Mode. We are here today with Ionic um, and excited to dive into money markets and demystify some of the opportunities on Mode and get to know some of our amazing protocols a little bit better. So, Raul, thank you so much for the time. If you want to give a short intro and we'll get right into it.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me. Big shout out to the Mode team for always hosting these awesome events. I think you guys do a great job of engaging everyone, engage the community, and keeping things real fun. So, really stoked to be here. I'm Rahul. I'm one of the co-founders of Ionic. I lead everything tech and engineering on the team. I'm, been in the space for a while now, since 2017. So I'll dive a little more into that when we get into more of the things around how Ionic started and things like that. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, class of 2017. It means you've been around to see enough to help design smart protocols. So it's always scoring points when you hear guys have been in the trenches for a bit. Myself, I'm Deez, head of growth here at Mode, and yeah, it's a privilege to dive into these things because I'm always learning something new as well when we get past the listings on DeFi Llama and turn these dApps that we're so used to poking around on into more realistic experiences and walkthroughs. So I guess without further ado, we can get into your DeFi journey, Raul. We can go as deep as you like or as light as you like. And then what was the inspiration for Ionic? Were there protocols before it? Do you have some war stories with the team? All the nitty gritty stuff. How did Ionic become what it is today?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so when I started in crypto in 2017, I first started in crypto by starting a company called Connext. So Connext is a cross-chain bridge protocol. I started that in 2017 with Arjun and Lane, who were the two co-founders, and we basically built it through multiple bull and bear cycles. We went through a lot of war stories with that one. Almost died multiple times, and had to like cut down the team, hire a team, cut down the team. Went through this whole process multiple times, and we ended up taking it to a place with a successful token launch, successful transition to DAO, and got a ton of experience with building huge infrastructure projects. Learned a lot about Ethereum and all the inner workings of the EVM and whatnot. And in about November, I ended up leaving. I kind of had taken it to where I wanted to get it to. I had hired like a good team. I was running the engineering there as well. So, once I got it to a place where I felt like I could kind of just let the protocol grow and move on without me, I decided it was time for me to exit and, take some time off for myself and spend a couple months just kind of like being like a DJ and exploring apps, exploring the space. You can never really stay away from the space, even if you leave a full-time job. You guys know how it is. But then during that time, I actually, met and kind of connected with James. I met him at a conference and, kind of hit it off with him pretty well. And I really liked where he was going with Mode and kind of what the vision was and where he wanted to take it. And it's really interesting and a difficult problem when you're trying to bootstrap a new chain from zero. Like you need a lot of things. You need liquidity, you need apps, you need builders. And a really important part of that is like you need good experienced teams who are willing to commit and really like build with you and kind of take this thing from 0 to 1. So it's almost like, being a startup in a startup. So I really kind of liked that vibe. So, we started chatting about what kind of protocols they need, what kind of apps they need, what kind of founders, developers, things like that. And, in the meantime, like while this whole Connects thing was going on, I'd actually spent some time incubating a lending protocol and putting a team together. And we ended up building out this whole lending protocol, and it never really like went anywhere. But with Mode, there was like a new opportunity to kind of like do a full relaunch and kind of like, launch from ground zero and take it to, somewhere where it could really realize its full potential. So that's how we uh, ended up getting Ionic going. And, since I was basically freed up at that time, I jumped in, got back on the ground, helped get the code ready, and we did a deployment day one on Mode, and we got everything ready. So that was really cool. We saw a lot of like initial traction, initial success with Mode, and now we're here and we're kind of like rolling with you guys to the moon.
I love it. I really resonate with that, with your experience with James, because as when I came on from when I was looking for my next spot after Olympus, and kind of hearing that vision of building a DeFi protocol with other just really base builders who are looking to push the limit. And I found it so intriguing that we can be on hands with exactly what you said, builders with builders, kind of in the trenches on the chain level, with this North Star of innovation, and then putting the proper building pieces together. So it's a privilege. It's equally cool on the chain side to get to know these amazing teams. And yeah, and you've seen it, but the agility is just mind blowing, of the protocols
Yeah,
on Mode.
totally.
We're innovating like
Yeah.
at a pace that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah, it's cool to see. I think it's like a really good time because all the tooling is there. When we launched Connects in 2017, it's like everything was in a way different place. Like everything was hard to build from scratch. There was like not much like code you could like pull together. Like there weren't like these building blocks that there are now. But now there's so many building blocks, so you can really put together these like awesome experiences and really iterate at the UX UI level, which is where I think like most of the innovation needs to be happening these days, at the application, at the user interface level.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And it's funny, we're 4 weeks into these DeFi deep dives, and man, if we contacted you 4 weeks ago, we'd have less to talk about. I mean, you guys have been shipping like crazy just in the past 4 weeks alone. So yeah, without further ado on the backstory, yeah, let's dive into Ionic. Kind of, I mean, you shared a little bit about your inspiration for it, but do you have a kind of a broader vision? It's got all these different features that are coming together. And then what kind of key
Yeah,
milestones, achievements have you been proud of so far? And don't worry, we will dive into each one, but this is just the entry.
no, totally. And just like a little more backstory on it, because I know, I came from like a totally different world with cross chain infrastructure. Um, but, I am like a DeFi degen. I have been basically ever since I was in crypto. And lending to me is really what like helped me see the magic of crypto. Like the fact that you can like put your ETH somewhere, you can borrow USDC against it, you can like do other things. Like a lot of people use lending protocols just for like leverage, but I was ended up using lending protocols to basically do like real life stuff. I'm like, oh, I need like cash to like buy this thing, and then I would like take cash out, I would buy something in real life, and then I would like slowly pay back my loan over time. So it's kind of like taking like credit almost, because you have an asset that like obviously is going to appreciate, obviously we say, when it's like you're talking about crypto assets and ETH and things, Bitcoin, things like that. So really it's like I see the magic in these lending protocols, and I believe that like we're barely scratching the surface of what lending protocols can really do. And I believe they're like one of the really like big unlocks, true product market fit. And like, like I said, we're barely scratching the surface, because really when you think of a lending protocol, it's basically you're collateralizing anything that can be tokenized, and you're able to take out like assets against that. So, right now it's just like, okay, you can like put in one crypto, you can take out another crypto. But once we start tokenizing more interesting things like real world assets and things like that, then you can get to a really interesting point. So I guess that kind of scratches the surface a little bit about what our vision is.
I love it. I love it. Well, we got 10 minutes of you and I monologuing on the comfy chairs over here. I think we can probably start to fire up a live stream and dive into Ionic, and then kind of unpackage this kraken that you guys are building.
Yeah, totally. I'll just pull up my screen here now. So let me know when you can see it here.
No worries. This is queuing DKing, paging DKing. We have additional screens to live stream. All right, here we are. Here we are. So wherever you like to start, I know we both are sharing kind of a roadmap, little script outline that we have here, but I don't want to tell you how to tell your story, sir. So whatever makes most sense. If we're talking to an audience of kind of newbies, we can start with that kind of basis level understanding, and then work our way up into the for the nerds in the crowd.
Yeah, totally. So basically, this is the markets page. You know, I guess for newbies, this stuff does look a little bit like a lot, you know. So you know, we can kind of like walk through piece by piece, and there is a lot of information here. And I think, you know, this is one of those things that we're always looking to optimize, always looking for feedback, always trying to like listen to people. But right now, I would say the UI is fairly crypto native, where you have basically these markets, you have a bunch of assets here, then you have like a bunch of statistics about the assets here. So basic UI here, you know, you're choosing which one of your markets this is, and we can talk more about this later. But say you choose the mode main market, and then you can see, you know, stats around market size, what the availability is in terms of like what's available to borrow, what actually has been borrowed, and then you have a list of assets here. So what these assets are these are assets that you can either deposit or borrow into the protocol. So we have all your kind of like you know, usual suspects here, like LRTs. We have you know, the Kelp LRTs. We have the Renzo LRTs. We have the EtherFi stuff, MBTC, WETH, WBTC, and then we have stable coins. So it's really important to have things like ETH and stable coins, because these are the assets that people want to borrow. So the thing is, it's like a kind of like a chicken and the egg type system where people need a supply. Basically, it's like a, you know, it is like a decentralized like lending type thing. So if you're a person who wants to lend, you're a lender, then all you do is just you supply assets. Then other people can borrow those assets, and basically you're getting paid by the borrowers to lend this asset. So it's like, it is like a real yield type system. So there is actually real yield because people are paying interest to borrow assets from the pool. And this all happens through smart contracts. Of course, there's no like centralized parties. Everything's non-custodial. You can go straight to the contracts. You can deposit, you can withdraw, things like that. So, you know, everything that's here on the UI is just a convenience, but everything is actually running on chain. And then you have basically, you have balances here. So you have supply balance, which is how much you have supplied into the market. Then you have total supplied. So this is basically the total size of the market. And the total supplied is important because that tells you how much can be borrowed. So basically you have, you know, these numbers here, the millions in some places are the amount that is actually able to be borrowed. And then you have how much you're borrowing. So it's kind of like what you have here in this column and what the total is, and then what you've borrowed, and then the totals, and then the APR is here. So this is important also. So it's a really cool system the way it works. It's like a very dynamic, like these interest rate models. I mean, I think they're so cool, even though they're kind of like pretty well known at this point, but it's pretty cool because basically the more of the supply that is borrowed, the higher the interest rates are. So that's why you'll see all these numbers are way different. So you'll see for like something like let's say USDC, right? So it's going to cost you 6.8%. This is APR, so per year. This is the percentage rate that you're going to pay to borrow USDC. And this is based on how much is supplied versus borrowed. So you can see there's about 3 million-ish supplied and about 1 million-ish borrowed. So That's about like 1 to 3 or whatever ratio. So that equates to suppliers will get 1.73%. That's just the raw real yield APR. That's not including any of these other cool little incentives or anything like that. And then 6.8% to borrow. So, you can do the math there and see, like, is it worth it for you to borrow USDC at 6.8%? Can you take that USDC and put it somewhere else to get even more yield? So you can play these little like yield arbitrage games here. Or you can be like, like I said, the example, you're like, oh, okay, I want to like buy a car right now. So I'm going to take out like, I don't know, like 50,000 USDC. I'm going to go buy this car and I'm going to pay 6.8% on it. I'm going to slowly pay it back over time and get this like fully decentralized loan against like maybe some ETH that I'm holding because I think ETH is valuable and I don't want to sell my ETH. So it's like a really cool way to basically take out cash against your crypto without actually selling your crypto. I guess now, if you want, we can get into some of these other things like the incentives and the points stuff. So if you'll see here, you hover over any of these like these little like things we have on the UI that indicate how many points that you're getting, extra points and whatnot. You'll see like what the breakdown is in terms of points that you're getting. So here you're getting a base APR rate of this much, plus you're getting all these different types of points. So you're getting these OP super fast rewards, you're getting Ionic points, you're getting Turtle Ionic points, you're getting mode points, you're getting Turtle mode points. So you're just stacking points on points on points if you're doing any kind of like lending or borrowing. And it's cool because you can see here that like you're getting more points for borrowing. So actually the points that you're getting for borrowing could end up offsetting a lot of your APR. And that's the idea, is that eventually we want to make it so the incentives are so that you're incentivized to borrow, and some of these incentives are actually going to offset the rates that you're paying to borrow. So essentially you can get like very cheap or even free or even get paid to borrow, which would be like a really awesome thing. Yeah, let me know if I should stop anywhere, if there's any questions or anything like that. Maybe if you guys are monitoring the chat, you could feel free to interrupt at any time with questions. But I guess now maybe I could do a little bit of a demo here. Let's see, what do I have in my wallet right now? Okay, let's do an ETH supply because that's easy. So okay, so wrap ETH. Yeah, this is one annoying thing about the market right now is it takes WETH and not ETH. So we haven't implemented this like multi-call functionality to actually be able to make this a one-step process. That is something that's on our roadmap here. But basically, you can wrap a little bit of your ETH, which means you'll just put it into an ERC20 token so that it can be used in this market. So let's say I want to wrap like 0.01 ETH. Then it will do this whole thing. It's popping up on my MetaMask. I don't know if anyone is seeing my MetaMask right now, but then it's going to go through and it's going to send these transactions on chain here.
Yeah, your MetaMask is hidden, so all good.
Okay, cool. You guys can't see how little money I have. Cool. And then it's going to refresh just to refresh the numbers here. And then now it will let me supply. And it will pop up here. So we do have this concept of supply caps and borrow caps. So this is kind of like a protocol safety feature to make sure that we don't take in or let borrow too much amount. This is kind of like something that we're controlling with our risk team pretty hard. So then it'll tell you how much you actually have in your wallet to supply. And I can see how much I actually want to supply. So I wrap 0.01. So I will say that's how much I want to supply. And enable collateral. So this is a flag that you need to set if you want to actually use this WETH that you supply as collateral. So what that means is that if it's enabled as collateral, you can actually borrow against it. So yes, I want to enable it as collateral, and it is marked as such.
Would there be a reason for someone not to enable it as collateral?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you're just going to be a lender and you don't want to worry about borrowing or anything like that, you don't have to enable it as collateral. So it's kind of like just a little flag that you have to set to actually allow your collateral that you've supplied to be in this like back end calculation that actually calculates like your account liquidity, which means the amount that you can borrow. So because it's like a lending pool, it's comprised of multiple assets. So every asset is like priced against ETH in this case. So like everything basically is all added up in terms of like ETH, and that gives you like an account liquidity, and you have to have enabled collateral to have that account liquidity on this asset. So now let's go through this example. Say I want to borrow USDC. So it's telling me I can borrow 69 nice USDC. So I will go ahead and actually borrow that amount. Oh no, yeah, that's true. Actually, I don't want to max borrow. So this is actually a good concept. This is really where the whole lending protocol works, right? Is because when you borrow, you have like a collateral factor, which means you can borrow this amount up to this amount. So that's like a percentage, right? A loan to value, let's say. So basically, I can borrow, if I look at all the collateral factors here, USDC is 90%. So I can borrow, or no, sorry, since I supplied WETH, 82.5%. So I can borrow up to 82.5% of the value of the ETH that I've supplied in borrows. So basically, if I want to borrow now, then I want to go here and I want to choose, and the UI will tell me that I can actually, that it's going to be dangerous to borrow this much, because the problem is then if ETH price drops or the interest accrues, then I will actually get liquidated. So liquidation happens when your health factor drops below 1. So that means when all of the assets that you've borrowed is below your kind of combined collateral factor across all the assets that you have supplied as collateral. So I'm going to do something safe here. I'm going to say I'm going to borrow like, 40% of my max borrow. And that'll get me about $28. So it's cool. I can go, buy like a pizza or something like that. I really like, using the example of buying stuff in the real world rather than, just leverage, because leverage is like cool and all, but it's like, kind of boring in a way. I like to, make the analogy of doing real world things, because I can just take this, I can, take it to Coinbase, and I can go turn it into like USDC in my bank account. And that's more fun because I can actually like use it to do cool things. And
100%.
then here,
And we have to appreciate the small amounts that you're using. I mean, this was not possible months ago before the Denkun upgrade. So it's really a powerful unlock for all of DeFi that people can learn with such reasonable amounts, because typically these gas interactions would cost upwards of $100 on Ethereum. So I think we lost the stream.
Yeah. I just reshared because I wanted to share my whole window instead of just the app. So
Gotcha.
I can switch over here because I wanted to, click into the transaction and show some of the cool stuff here. So you can see that it transferred me like real USDC. It's just like real life USDC. All what I get is like, I don't get any kind of wrap version. I don't get any kind of like synthetic version. I'm not minting like some kind of stable coin. I'm just getting like real raw USDC here. So I think that's pretty cool. And then I will show how awesome the gas prices are on mode. I paid, $0.00009 for that. So it's, fractions of a cent, which I always think is quite cool. Yeah. So then now I have done my borrow, I've done my supply. And then that's it. That's how you do it. So then you can supply any amount of assets. So say, my the price of ETH is going down a little bit. I'm like, oh shoot, I don't want to get liquidated, but I don't want to pay back my loan right now. Let me put in like BTC instead. And then I would just go here and I would supply. I don't have any BTC to supply right now, but if I did, I could go here and I could add other assets. And like I said, it's going to be a combination of all the assets that you have against this one borrow position. And then we can go here to the dashboard. So this is kind of like a breakdown of what your positions are currently. So it's showing me everything that I've currently supplied, how much I've borrowed. You can see I have 28 that I just borrowed. I've supplied before. So, it's showing a little more than I just supplied there. But this is basically my total stats, net asset value. This is basically the supply minus the borrow. And then position held. This is important. So this is actually what shows me like how close I am to liquidation. So like I said, if your held factor goes below 1, you're going to get liquidated. So there are bots running like 24/7 that are looking for liquidation. So, it says here might get triggered, but if you go below 1, you're going to get liquidated. It's not really a might, unless you have like some fraction of a cent that it's just not worth it to liquidate. But for the most part, you're going to get liquidated. So this is something you always want to pay attention to if you're going to be doing this kind of DeFi stuff. And you can see here, how much on average I'm borrowing. I'm paying for my borrows, how much on average I'm getting for all my supplies, the net APR is like the difference between the borrows and supplies. This is scaled based on how much you're borrowing. So you can see I'm still actually ahead based on how much I've supplied and how much I've borrowed. So how much I'm earning on all the supplies versus the borrows. And then you can also see points here. So points are, everyone knows what points are at this time. They're kind of like the flavor of this cycle, but points are a way to accrue value in the protocol and actually kind of show yourself as a power user of the protocol, and you will end up being rewarded for that with various incentives and things like that. And then I can see a breakdown of everything that I've collateralized here, and then everything that I've borrowed here. Yeah, that's the breakdown of the markets and the dashboard. So you guys tell me where we want to go next.
That's been really great so far. So what's the difference between these two markets? I see we have the main market and then we have a mode market. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or a native market, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically the Ionic code base is built around this idea of isolated pools. So there is like this danger of lending protocols that's kind of inherent to lending protocols in general, where if you have very volatile assets that kind of like end up depegging or moving in price very quickly, basically the whole risk is that, let's say you have a token in here like I don't know, like let's say MBTC goes to 0 in like 2 minutes or like a fraction of a second or whatever. There's like some flash crash where like the whole MBTC protocol, God forbid, just like dies and like the whole thing just goes to 0. Then what's going to happen to your lending protocol is that there's not going to be able to be liquidations triggered fast enough for the price to actually or for the like market to remain stable, because the whole point is these liquidations have to occur before the price of the collateral goes, or the price of the collateral borrow goes below the price of the collateral. So they have to always be able to like, you always have to liquidate. Like that's why you can't ever borrow up to 100%, because you have to have some room where liquidators can liquidate. And you can see that these collateral factors and collateral ratios are actually scaled based on risk. So the more risky the asset is, the less you can actually borrow against it. And that's for this reason of getting into what we call bad debt, which is where the collateral value drops too quickly and then it doesn't become profitable to seize that collateral anymore. And then you end up with basically this thing called bad debt. So that's basically like the the kind of like bane of lending protocol's existence. So what you can do is you can split these things up into different markets where you have more volatile assets. Like, for example, let's say mode here. You know, the reason we made this native market, which is called native market, is basically for mode native assets. So starting out, we're going to have mode here. So mode is the asset that's in this market. So now if mode, for example, were to like, you know, suffer some major issue and you know, basically go to zero and like take down the whole market, it's not going to take out this entire like $190 million worth of market. It's basically isolated so that the market is only like this much amount, and we can basically operate these things in parallel. We can operate them together, and then we can feel much safer about it because we have these risks that are basically isolated. Like, this has been a big thing with lending protocols. I don't know if you guys remember Cream Finance. That was basically a lending protocol back in the day in like the DeFi summer days, in like 2021 or even earlier. But they basically onboarded any like shitcoin asset into their market, and like they had like no qualms about onboarding all these like random assets. And then they ended up like basically like dying because their markets ended up getting so much bad debt because all these assets like go to zero and like there wouldn't be liquidations properly, and then it ends up like the suppliers of the liquidity end up holding the bag, because say you supply USDC, then all your USDC gets borrowed, and then like there's basically no liquidation, so you can't get your USDC back. So you kind of like you screw over the LPs in your protocol if you do this kind of stuff. So that's why we're doing this thing called a native market. And the plan for the native market is we're going to add all the other coins that are launching on mode, and you know, be like the place to actually do this lending and borrow against these coins here. And the idea is, you know, as there's more people wanting to supply and borrow against their mode tokens, the USDC APR should go up. So you should get like risk adjusted returns against it, basically. So the more risky a market is, the more people will want to borrow against these high risk assets. So then the USDC APRs will go up. And then the idea is, you know, you basically get more against your USDC for that. But you can see in this case, kind of interesting, the borrow APRs on mode are super high. That means there's a lot of demand to actually borrow mode. And I think the reason for that is because people are, you know, supplying things like USDC and borrowing mode, and then they're like taking that mode and they're staking it. So you can see here, you can get like a cool 30% just for parking your mode in here and letting other people pay 50% to borrow it.
Yeah, the magic of the live stream. We get to see these opportunities in real time.
That's right.
So yeah, thanks so much for the overview here. So say, yeah, we're power Ionic users now, and we're looking to maximize our exposure to you guys to the protocol, or do interesting things. Yeah, what's going on with the earn tab, the claim tab, as we explore deeper here?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and we're like, you know, we're constantly adding new stuff. So yeah, I'll go through in the order you mentioned here. So claim, basically this is the airdrop. So anybody who is eligible, basically we had the public sale through S1. So you can come here, you can choose your S1 if you're an S1 participant, and you can claim your tokens. They're getting linearly unlocked over 80 days. I think 40 days left in this, so it's about half unlocked. So you can come here every day and claim however much you want. And then if you have an airdrop, then you come here and you can actually, so we did something interesting here with the airdrop, where you can claim your airdrop instantly by forfeiting a portion of it linearly to the vesting period. So there is a way to unlock your tokens instantly. You just forego a little bit of your returns. So you can see here, like exactly, I can't because I don't have an airdrop, because I had to, you know, make myself not get an airdrop, obviously. But if you did have an airdrop, if you were a user of Ionic, you most likely got an airdrop. So you can come here, you can claim your airdrop. When you can either claim it instantly and forfeit some of your gains, or you can wait until the vesting period is done in about 50 days and you can go claim your full amount of Ion. Yeah, and then the earn page. So the earn page is interesting. So we have basically a couple opportunities here where you can actually do stuff with your assets. So we've collaborated with Steer Protocol and SupSwap to create a market for Ionic USDC and Ion USDT. So Ion USDC and Ion USDT are assets. They're basically receipt tokens that you get for supplying USDC and USDT. So they're like wrapped USDC, USDT tokens. So these are yield bearing tokens because they're just earning yield in the background. So they're accruing interest. So the cool thing is you can pair these tokens and you can actually put them into this pool on Steer. So if you do that, then you're basically getting swap fees on top of the supply APRs that you're earning. It's like a really cool system. And the idea is, we bootstrap enough liquidity into these pools and then aggregators start actually routing through them. So that's kind of what we want to do here is we want to make this a competitive USDC, USDT market to actually get aggregators to start routing through it. And then the other thing is Ion Wet. So of course, if you supply liquidity into the Ion Wet pool, then you will earn some extra points and yield on top of that as well through our awesome friends at Velodrome. And then both of these are just kind of links that go to these various apps. So the idea is, this page grows, we have more opportunities, we have more cool things that you can do after you do stuff on Ionic itself.
That's so cool that you can use your receipt token to do other things. It's not necessarily you need to go borrow to leverage these money markets, these lending protocols. You can stay on one side of the market, it seems.
Exactly. Yep. And that's the power of, that's really one of the powers of this whole blockchain game is the composability. You can, compose and everything is open. The Steer guys are cool. Like their whole thing is permissionless, right? We can just go, we created the pool ourselves. We set everything up ourselves. Everything is permissionless. And then, they have this whole thing for our tokens.
That's awesome. Shout out to Steer. We had him on week 1 on our DeFi deep dives.
Nice.
This has been awesome so far. So we have these shiny new badges that are up there. We have a staking and X Ion. Let's get into those.
Yep, totally. So basically, staking is all around Ion. So as you guys may know, we've launched Ion. So the Ion token is live. And this is basically the very first iteration of what you can do with your Ion tokens. It's kind of not so cool right now, or there is this cool part actually. So we've integrated the DeFi jumper widget. So you can actually buy Ion from any of these chains from any asset. So you can basically say you got ETH on Arbitrum, you can just take this and then you can actually go and buy Ion, and it does the bridging and the swapping all for you through the awesome power of DeFi. So shout out to DeFi. We go way back with those guys as well. Then you can take your Ion tokens and you can actually do this whole LP. So this is basically this is wrapping the Velodrome UI exactly in it. So you can take your Ion and you can actually deposit it and provide liquidity directly from our UI here. And then you can stake your LP tokens to get all the cool Velo rewards as well. So yeah. Oh, I do have some Ion ETH I should stake. Cool. Yep. These are popping up on MetaMask. You still can't see. That's annoying. Sorry. But, you guys know how MetaMask works. So it shows me how much available to stake and yeah. And X Ion. So that's the other thing. Okay, well, weird. Connect seems to be having some issues, but we have integrated with Connects to make the Ion token a cross-chain token. There's a lot more stuff happening here. I'll give a little bit of an alpha leak, but yeah. So Ion tokens right now are able to be bridged between Mode and Base for right now. So you can take your Ion, you can bridge it to and from Base through the Connects UI. So we call that X Ion. And then here we have bridge. So bridge is basically this is just linked to the Mode bridge itself. And then I think points is the last one. So points just shows basically your whole breakdown of how you're earning points. Are you supplying, which markets are you supplying in, how your breakdown of your earning strategy is, how many points you've earned for each of these supplies. So there's like a full breakdown here of your whole points thing. And then leaderboard here, so you can see all the various chads that are topping the ranks here on the global leaderboard. This whale has like 5 billion points, which is pretty wild. So you can see all the OGs and you can see their ETH names too. Oh, that's one thing that's in the works. We're going to change these to the mode names as well. So yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe the main thing I didn't cover is the OpFest stuff. So OpFest is this very cool event that Optimism is throwing, and Mode is a very big part of. So the Super Fest is going on, and it's rewarding various people for doing various actions, and Ionic is a big part of that. So if you supply any of these assets that has this cool little OpFest banner on it, you can actually go and you can claim points for it by clicking this link. So this will take you to another page here. And this, I believe, is the jumper page where they actually have the claim set up. I don't know how live this is yet, so I will not spend too much time here. Oh yeah, okay. So they have some stuff here, but I'll let you guys show that at a different time. Cool. I think I pretty much covered it. Yeah.
Yeah, we is here. So it's this of Ion mentioned there is how are you talking to the alpha fields of V Ion?
Oh yeah, so we actually have a lot of stuff in the works there. So we have really leaned around this concept that kind of like the token is the product, so like we want the Ion token to be awesome, basically. So we're in the process of rolling out like really cool tokenomics around VE Ion, locking your Ion, voting on various pools to emit rewards to, and coming up with this really cool multi-chain, cross-chain model for locking up Ion into VE Ion, and then using that VE Ion to vote on various pool emissions. So it's gonna be sick. I'm really excited about that. That's basically the biggest thing we got cooking right now. We will definitely
power.
Yeah, we will say more as it comes, but definitely follow our social channels. I think we just released like a small little primer about it. A lot of this is, very much like in the development right now.
Love it. Yeah. Anything else? Any other alpha? Anything we missed? Perhaps this has been super comprehensive. I see. Maybe we could touch on the looping for a second. I don't know if we explored.
Oh yeah, we have not really explored that. So looping is basically a way. So looping is how you. Oh yeah, so like I said, one of the main use cases for lending protocols is to leverage. So leveraging in a lending protocol is basically borrowing one asset. supplying one asset. Let's say you're going to supply WEETH, then you would borrow USDC, you would swap it back into WEETH, you would supply it again, and you would do that over and over again. So that's called a loop. So basically what this lets you do is it lets you loop this asset by automating this process of doing the supply, swap, borrow, swap over and over again. So yeah, it's a pretty cool feature that we've integrated into our UI as well. I'm not sure any of this will work with the current asset setups. Yeah, I'm not sure what this will do actually. So yeah, it's gonna say like how much I want to borrow here. Yeah. So basically, you choose what you want to borrow. So I'm gonna supply Easy ETH, I'm going to borrow USDC, and I'm going to loop it twice. So basically this is saying like how much I'm going to what I'm going to do to actually configure this kind of loop. And that's a cool thing that just kind of automates this position handling for like the degens out there that want to loop against their Easy ETH or something like that. And this is a cool feature. I think a lot of people are doing this kind of manually, so we just decided to go and automate this.
Very powerful. It's kind of a headache when you have to do it stepwise. So that one-click functionality is quite useful when you want to lever up that exposure to something.
Yeah, exactly. And there's really cool features, like I take a lot of inspiration from like other protocols that, like for example, DeFi Saver. I will shout these guys out all the time because, I've been using them for like years now, but they have all this like really cool automation tooling that basically lets you do things like, it lets you do these loops, but it also configures it so that it maintains your collateral ratio. So that like if say the price goes down, it'll basically unwind your loop for you to a point where your collateral ratio is safe again. And then if your collateral goes up, let's say ETH pumps like 10%, then it's going to like loop more times for you. So that's one thing that we also have on our roadmap as well, is some of these like really cool automation features that I think are going to be awesome. I mean, like I said, I just feel like, this UI right now, like I said, is very like crypto native, and there's a lot of room to kind of make things better, make things easier, reduce the number of clicks, make things more easy for like a newbie. You could have like a newbie version of this UI, like this could be the advanced version. So there's a lot of cool things that we think we can iterate on in the medium term as well. So we're looking at you guys too. Mode is gonna onboard like the masses to Web3, and then once those guys come, we want to have the right protocol for them to use.
That's exciting things on the docket, especially with AI agents, and as more and more opportunities come on, people are going to want to definitely lever to gain more exposure. Whether it's protocols coming out of our accelerator or new perps markets, or you name it. Ionic looks like a great place to get that extra juice, to get the exposure. And like you said at the beginning, it's kind of just a math game. Just how much is the supply side, how much is the borrow side, and then kind of analyzing those opportunities and seeing if it makes sense to open a position.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and like I said, these kinds of lending protocols are like are foundational to the infrastructure of DeFi. So I think no matter what, all the like cool stuff that comes in, we're gonna have all this awesome AI stuff, all this awesome like whatever you guys are cooking up here at Mode. But always the lending protocols are going to be like a stable kind of foundational piece of this, and composability too. So they will be composable with all this other stuff as well. So we want to be a big part of where you guys are going, and we're excited to take it there.
Yeah, equally excited. I don't see any comments. We have about 10 minutes left. I know if Fede were watching, his question is always, if we can touch security and how Ionic approaches security, and what you guys have set up to keep users safe in using the DApp.
Yeah, totally. That's a great question. I think, security is been on our mind from the get-go. I think, you can't really discount the number of hacks that have been in the space, as well as the amount of hacks on lending protocols as well. I think so from the get-go, we're built on top of the Compound V2 code base, which is like battle tested as they come. And it's a very flexible, very good code base, which is, very simple also to like read the code and see what it's doing. So we're very we're very confident in the code base itself. But on top of that, we built all these other features. Like I said, with the native market, we didn't just throw mode into the main market. We kind of isolated it into its own market for some of these various reasons itself, because we want to think about security, and we want to have that security mindset up front. And also, I will shout out Hypernative, because Hypernative is a huge part of our security strategy. So Hypernative is like basically an AI-driven platform for detecting threats and alerts. Detecting threats based on various triggers that are going on in the space. So they have like, they're watching everything on every chain. What addresses have done exploits before, have like this address, has it just come on mode and funded through like has it been funded through like Tornado Cash and then bridge those funds onto mode, and then is it basically setting up to exploit your protocol? And then not only have we integrated that functionality, we've also gone a step further and integrated their automated smart contract response functionality. So we have a contract that is capable of pausing all the markets at any time, and Hypernative has control over that functionality. So anytime they detect a threat, they will just automatically pause the contracts. And they've told us how many of the recent hacks even that they've detected, and they were able, if these protocols that were hacked had this functionality enabled, they would get out with 0 losses. So anytime anything looks suspicious on chain, they're just going to go and shut down the entire protocol. And when I say shut down, all that means is it's paused. Nobody can supply, nobody can borrow. You can just withdraw your funds. So your funds are always available to you. We're just going to take the extra precaution and pause it preemptively if we see anything suspicious. So with that, we can definitely sleep well at night, and we can rest easy knowing that these guys have our back and they're watching over us. And I think that itself is a big part of our security strategy.
Yeah, so huge. Allows users to use the DApp and builders to do what they do best, and that's build awesome UX and keep pushing forward. Well, I think that's a great thing to end on, giving that confidence to everyone involved looking at Ionic. Anything else on the horizon that you'd like to shill or put a spotlight on? And then of course, where's the best place for people to and keep up with all the updates?
Yeah, also this create wallet thing, I don't know if you guys have messed with this, with the base like smart wallet integration. It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to this coming to mode as well, but right now we do have this functionality integrated, so you can create your wallet on base. We have a deployment on base as well, but it's we're not pushing it very hard. We're focused very much like on being a mode native, mode first protocol. So I won't go to that, but once mode launches this type of thing with a smart wallet, then we will obviously be the first to integrate it. And that goes with anything, anything mode does, we always want to be the first ones to integrate it. So anytime new assets are onboarded that are interesting to come into the protocol, we're going to do it. We're already looking at things like SDAI, which are coming soon, and things like the mode ETH implementation. I don't know how much I can share about all this stuff, but there's a lot of stuff mode is cooking, and we're right there with them, and we're here to support you guys.
Absolutely, all is well on the super chain with the builders that are, oh man, yeah, pushing the limits. Can't say enough about you guys. But
Awesome.
yeah, where can people keep track of you guys though? Let's send these guys off. Make sure they follow Ionic on Ionic Money, right, on Twitter, and
Yeah.
where else?
Ionic money on Twitter. Also follow Ionic Intern on Twitter. You know, Ionic Intern has been getting a lot of publicity over the months as being pretty based. So, you know, follow if you want some good DGen DeFi content. Uh, Hop in our Discord. Our Discord has been popping off lately. We basically redid the entire Discord with you know, cool community games and roles and things like that. So there's new ways to earn, you know, and the alpha leak is the more you use the protocol, the more you will be rewarded. So of course, just be an organic user, do cool stuff. Like I said, take some money out off the table without selling your ETH. Go buy a car, buy a house, buy a nice gift for yourself, do things like that. And you know, use Ionic to do that. And we're here to support you. We're here to help you. Any questions you have, hop in our Discord, also our Telegram, also DM us on Twitter, whatever you want. You know, we're everywhere. So, yep.
Can confirm. Ionic team is everywhere. From a little peek behind the curtains in the Telegram, Ionic is the most active, based, curious, aggressive builders. You guys are yeah. It's a pleasure to work with you, and we can always count on you guys just getting after it. So happy to have you on chain and growing this whole super chain experience together. And I'd like to thank everyone who's taken time out of their Thursday to join us here. And make sure you follow Ionic and enjoy the OP Fest that's going on across the super chain. Mode, of course, has incentives active on volume incentives as well. So come experiment, learn, and we'll catch you next time, Raul. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. Thank you guys as well. It was a great pleasure. And looking forward to continuing building.
All right. Likewise. All right, D King, you can take us away, sir.